what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to run through my approach for tackling sort of day ticket venues, just like the one we've got behind us.
Oh, I'm in. I've got to go, mate. See you later.
Because there's literally 2 carp feeding and clouding up the water. Just literally must be in like 2-3 foot of water. A nice, simple but very effective way of hooking these carp. Wash and line, done the trick. We just got to get it back out now, Amanda, and hit that repeat button. Oh, wrong rod, wrong rod. You're mine. Thank you very much. Washing lines for the win. Well, hello, welcome to this episode of Carp Chapters, and you join us at Clavering Lakes here in Essex. Now, this is your typical day ticket venue. You book online using the Go Catch app and you've got your space on your lake. Now, that's exactly what I've done, but I've never fished or even seen the place before. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to run through my approach for tackling sort of day ticket venues, just like the one we've got behind us. I'm going to go through sort of venue research, locating fish, finding the best way to catch those fish, because it can change on any given day. They might move, they might decide to get up in the water column, but I'm going to run through exactly how I approach this sort of venue. So I think enough of the waffling. I am going to go and search for some carp, because that is the most important thing of any fishing fish location. So while I do that, cue the drone shots and we'll catch up in a bit. Fish there already, look. There's a fish out there.
Venue research is 100% something you need to be doing before you even get to the lake. You want to find out, are you going to be casting long range, short range, the makeup of the lake, even the weather, wind directions are all going to play a big part in your fishing. The internet, all their social pages, Google Earth, and obviously the weather app, they're all going to play their part in getting the info that you need. The most important thing I think I found out about Clavering Lakes was, it was quite a shallow lake. It had a shallow end and a deep end, but it was a long, thin rectangle shape with fishing from one side only. Walking the lake and finding fish before you set up is so important, because
if there's no carp where you're fishing, you definitely ain't catching. Well, I'm trying to sort of keep back from the water's edge, because there's literally 2 carp feeding and clouding up the water. Just literally must be in like 2-3 foot of water. They're literally going at it now, and Polaroids is a definite must, because even though the water's quite dirty, quite clouded, you can see so much more once you take that surface glare off, and there is definitely some feeding fish. So I'll keep that noted, but I'll have a walk further down and probably around the whole lake, to be fair, because you know there's 2 fish feeding there, but there might be 10 down there. So yeah, I'm going to carry on walking. Well, as I mentioned a minute ago, this margin, the no fishing bank, is obviously where people cast to, and that is why those 2 fish, they must be feeding on anglers' baits. People who were here last night must have been fishing over there. And like I mentioned a minute ago, like doing your research on the venue means that you can come with a little bit of an idea on how to approach the venue. I wouldn't stick to that, you know, let the fish tell you what to do. But yeah, I think so far I gathered that this margin fished from over there, that's the one, I think. There's definitely fish down this far end now. This is the shallow end of the lake, but there's a fish out there, and I saw a ghostie swim past a minute ago, and that just under that tree over there was where it was all clouding up, obviously fish feeding there. So there's definitely fish down this end of the lake as well, but there's obviously a load of fish feeding up there. So yeah, 2 zones over here, or halfway, there's another fish now, or halfway up that bank is the zones. But yeah, it feels a bit gnarly. The wind's picking up and it's starting to rain a bit. So I think I'm going to head back to the van, get the gear out, and then sort of, while I'm doing that, make a decision. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Well, it did start raining, hence I've got the Pro Peak up straight away because I can't be having everything get wet. So the bivvy is up, and more importantly, I've come up with a game plan on how to catch these carp. Now, I've decided to plot up in the middle section of the lake, exactly opposite where I saw those two carp going absolutely mad, tails up, chomping down on whatever was left there from the previous anglers, because there was definitely fish feeding, So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fish here over to the far margin, but I've got a little game plan. So I'm gonna sort through some rigs, see what I've got, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cast over to the far margin, so the lead lands on the bank, and then I'm gonna use a little baiting spoon, and I'm gonna spoon the rigs onto the spots, because the last thing I wanna be doing, trust me, is smashing leads on top of their head, trying to get this clip sorted, and landing it on that sort of little 2-foot square where I saw those fish feeding. Well, even the best anglers are gonna struggle to do that first cast. So I'm gonna do the lead onto the other bank, spoon it in, and I may even have another little trick up my sleeve, and that is to use the washing line trick. Now, what is the washing line trick, I hear you all saying? Now, it's not a trick, I should say it's more of a method. It's where you put a storm pole in the bank on the opposite side, spoon your rig in, like I said, and then you have the line all the way above the water to a little clip on the bank stick, and then the line goes from there onto your spot. And then when you get a bite, the fish bolts away from the margins, it pulls it out the clip, and you are in. But what the main advantages of that is it keeps all the line out of the water, because if I've got 2 rigs on the margins, on the shelf, I've got lines going straight across to the spot. Any fish that are there are gonna know they're fished for and gonna do the off, because no one else down here. I am literally the only person here at the moment. And if there's places where they're not getting lead smashed on them, there's not lines going through the swim, I guarantee it, they will do the off. So I think this is the best chance I've got of getting off the mark here at Clavering Lakes. So I'm gonna sort some rigs, ping some leads over there and get them set up. But I will show you exactly how to set up, excuse me, the washing line rig, so you can incorporate into your own angling as well.
Both leads are cast to the opposite bank. Put your rods on your rest, make sure your clutches are tight, but not so tight that you can't pull line if needed. Then sort your rigs, your bait and your spoon, and head round the other side. Now the interesting bit, get your long storm pole and secure it in the bank near where you're going to be fishing. Then clip on your fresh rig, put the whole lot in your spoon with your desired amount of bait and get it shipped out to your spot. Using the spoon makes life so much easier, and let's face it, you can't get any neater than that. Now all I do is pass the line under the clip that's attached to the storm pole, but you must make sure if a carp pulls on that line, it will fall out the clip nice and easily. A few handfuls of boilie over the rod as well, just for good measure. Then next, the other rod. Bowstring lines from the rod tips to your storm poles, and we're done.
Okay, so that is the rods out. Super neat. I don't think there is any neater way than spooning out from the far margin. But let's talk about why I have the rod tips quite high. And that is because, turn that on, I don't want the line in the water. If the line is in the water, any bird life that comes through can actually pull on the line, pull it out of the clip, and that's enough of a faff putting it out anyway, let alone for having false bites. So that's why the tips are high. Let's talk about the bites, because they're not your standard bites when fishing the washing line. You don't get the bob and slam against the bite alarm and lines tearing off. You'll get an absolute massive drop back, because as soon as that fish pulls that line out of that clip on the old storm pole, all that line just falls down and you'll get that drop back. So you'll pick up the rod and you'll wind all the slack in, and then you'll get in contact with the fish. So that's the sort of bite you're expected to get with the washing line. It's a lot of faff, but the washing line is super neat, super effective, and hopefully with that effort we've put in, we can catch a fish. But I'll quickly say, if I see fish elsewhere, I will move. The joys of having a videographer and Amanda with you, she can look after the rods and I can go down there and keep an eye out, because in the back of my mind, all those fish down at that far end there, well, yeah, there's a lot of fish there. So if I haven't had anything here, I will up sticks and go down there, and hopefully keeping on the move, keeping on the fish. Yeah, it usually pays off. Like I said, fish location is definitely the most important part of fishing. Well, a nice strong cup of tea is what you want.
So we've gone over, let's say, the positives of using the washing line, but let's talk about one major flaw, and that is, yeah, airborne birds. Oh my God.
Ducks, man. Ducks!
Right, okay, so good time to refresh the rods, but Chris, what are you doing, mate? What's going on with your tongue, geezer? Seriously, sort it out.
That could be a bite, Amanda. Well, Amanda, you ruined my bite rod shot. I think you were in shot when I got the bite. You looked like, what's going on there? And I was like, that could be a bite, Amanda. It's quite funny, but yeah, literally just redone the rods and I'm playing a carp. So yeah, I just made a cup of tea. That's the thing what you need to do. Make a cup of tea or cook your dinner and you'll get a bite. Right, get out mine. Oh. Well, he tore my bloody arm off, didn't he? Oh, he's all right. I think he might be that cool one, Amanda, the one I saw online on the old Go Catch website. He'll do. He's a mid to upper 20. That'll do. Lovely. Look at him. It's not really going to behave, I don't think. Not only, mate, did you beat me up while I was playing you, you're going to beat me up here as well, aren't you? He's pretty cool, he is. 28 pound, 1 ounce of Clavering Spessy Lake mirror. And I'm off the mark as well on the first evening, I'm going to say. I don't know what time it is now, it's about 8 o'clock I should imagine. Yeah, wash and line, done the trick. We just got to get it back out now, Amanda, and hit that repeat button.
I redone both of the rods, so I was confident that they were fishing perfectly going into the evening. But to be fair, it didn't take long to receive the second bite of my session.
Another one. To the washing line. There we go, fish number 3, 22.5 pounds. Obviously I had that small mirror, which I didn't bother weighing. He was probably sort of 12, 13 pounds, slipped him straight back. But this one I thought, let's get him out and show you, because 22 odd pound ain't to be sniffed at. I'm well chuffed that the old washing lines are doing the biz. It seems it sort of kicked off more at night time than it did in the afternoon, which is a bit weird because, as I mentioned, it's really shallow over there. But I ain't to complain. If it means I'm up all night catching carp, then that's what I'm going to be doing.
Being awake at first light for me is the best part of the day. You see so much more in terms of fish activity, they show themselves, but I also needed to get up, retie some fresh rigs and get them out nice and neatly for the morning ahead.
Well, I think they've been out about an hour and a half since I redone them in the morning, and the left-hand rod is away. Nice way to start the day, I must say. He's doing his best now to get right in this margin. It doesn't feel massive, but I'm not complaining. I did have a small mirror in the night, about sort of 15 pounds, which I just sort of did a mat shot and then slipped him back. Let's just go round and round and round in circles, these little ones, don't they? Round and round and round. Come on. There we go. Wow, look at him. He's going straight back. He is tiny. Let's get the rod back out on the money and hopefully get one a lot bigger. Right, so let's talk about rigs and lead arrangements. Everyone loves a rig talk. And for this one, I've chosen this style for a certain reason. Now, when I'm using a baiting spoon in the margins, the lead arrangement I like to go for is an inline lead. So the reason I've gone for an inline is because I'm not casting it, I'm just dropping it with the spoon and fishing on hard ground in the margins. An inline lead definitely suits because one, it sits flat on the leg bed like so, and when a fish was to pick up the hook bait, it feels the weight of that inline lead literally instantly. With a lead clip, there's a little bit more play, and a helicopter rig even more so. So this has definite better hooking potential than say a lead clip. So that is why I've gone for an inline. I've got a metre of leadless lead core that just sits on all the debris, keeps it out of the way, and obviously got a little bit of abrasion resistance as well. And then down to the nitty gritty bit, the rig on the end. Now I've got a little anti-tangle sleeve and I've got 5 or 6 inches of supple coated braid. I like supple because it lays over everything. As I say, I'm not casting it, it's not going to tangle, it's being dropped from the spoon, and I think that sits perfectly on the lake bed, just on that shelf of the margins. Now let's get talking about the end bit, the most important bit, and that is the hook. I've gone for a size 6 quarter wide gape, and as you can see, I've got an aggressive bit of shrink tubing. It sort of like extends the shank of the hook in an aggressive way, and aided also with a little bit of tubing on the bend of the hook, aids it turning and flipping on the palm every single time. There we go. I mean, sharp hook, pulled, bang, straight into the palm every single time. And that is because I'm using a bottom bait. If I was using a wafter, I wouldn't have the hair coming around the bend as aggressive as that, because what you're doing when you have a wafter and you have your hair like that, it is making the point of your hook lighter. So it's in turn is making the hook point face upwards, and that's not what you want. You can only use a bit of tubing like this aggressively if your bottom bait is a bottom bait. I have got a little topper here, a little white topper, 10mm boilie cut in half, but that does not really change the buoyancy of this hook bait at all. If anything, it only just kicks it off. Doesn't sit like that, sits pretty much flat. So it is actually a bottom bait. And how I've done that is I use a little krill dumbbell hook bait. I literally chop off the end, and then I get a little white pop-up, little 10mm, chop that in half. And as you can see, fits nice and neatly onto that hair, looks super tidy as well. And that is pretty much the rig. Obviously, I've got a tiny little bit of tungsten putty in the middle there. That just keeps it pinned down to the bottom. That is it, in a nutshell. A nice, simple, but very effective way of hooking these carp. Now, let's talk a little bit about the bait I've used. So, Sam, the owner of the fishery, he feeds these carp on a house pellet. So he's given me a bag of that. very kind of him. So I've got that in the mix for sure. A tiny little bit of sweet corn, not a lot, just a little bit of visual sweet corn, a little bit of crushed boilie, crumb boilie, and some more tiny little micro pellets as well. At the beginning of the session, any eagle-eyed viewers would have noticed that I was actually putting a little bit of chopped worm into the mix, and I also had a bit of chopped worm on my hook bait as well. I was using chopped down dumbbell, a little bit of plastic yellow corn, and then I had a dendrobina on the end. And although that is brilliant, there's a lot of silverfish in the lake, and they were absolutely annihilating the mix and pulling my hook bait around and ripping the worms off. So I bushed them, changed over to a pink and a white, and as I said, the white seems to do the most damage at the moment, so that's what I've gone with. I'm just spooning the mix out with the hook bait, the pellet and the crumb, and then once that's out, I'm getting a handful of the krill active in 12mm and 16mm, and I'm just throwing a couple of handfuls over the top of the rig as well. And that seems to be doing the biz. Pretty simple, as I say, but very effective rig for fishing in the margins or using a spoon. That's a bite. Right, so there is always an opportunity to be had when fishing day ticket syndicates, whatever. There's always an opportunity somewhere else on a lake. And the plus points of having Amanda, like I said yesterday with me, is she can look after the rods, and I can take a little stroll just down there like I just have, and I've seen a load of carp in that corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reel both rods in, I'm going to run around to the other side, grab my storm pulse, grab the spoon, and then we're going to go up there for a few hours, and I think, fingers crossed, we can actually catch a carp or two. So let's pull this out of the clip. Pink, wind this in, wind the other rod in, and we'll get on the move.
So I grabbed the essential bits of kit, trundled up the other end, and put out 2 wash and line rigs yet again, because as I keep banging that drum, crashing leads on the edge, especially in this corner, is going to push them far away. So 2 rigs lowered onto the margins in about 2 foot of water, to be fair, using the spoon and a little bit of bait, and we were fishing. I went round and had a little check probably about 10 minutes after to make sure I hadn't spooked any fish, and there was fish actually feeding on my left hand rod.
Left hand rod, gonna go any second. Oh, wrong rod, wrong rod. I said wrong rod. Time to get my net. There was me saying left hand rod, and it was right rod. There we go. So if you fancy a trip to Clavering Lakes, it's fairly simple. All you got to do is go on the Go Catch app or go on Go Catch online, bit of a tongue twister that, yeah, and book your slot. It's that simple. Loads of cool fish in here. Sam, the owner, said there's actually 18 30-pounders swimming around in here, so if that's not enough 30s to go for, then I don't know what is. Come on, mate, you're disturbing my swim. Oh, you little bugger. Oh, you've done me twice, mate. You have done me twice. Not this time. You're mine. Thank you very much. Nice common. Steady. Oh, he's nailed, look at that. Well, there you go. There was me going on saying that left-hand rod is going to rip off, and literally 5 seconds after that, the right-hand rod just absolutely went into meltdown. Fishing quite short range, you see, and they bolt off that shallow margin. Well, yeah, absolutely clunker. 26 odd pound, definitely a female fish. You can tell because it's completely empty after spawning, and I would have said it's probably an upper 20, if not a 30 pounder before spawning, and goes to prove that fish of this length can feed in 2 foot and underwater. So I wouldn't even say it was 2 foot where I'm fishing. So that is absolutely mental. Catching fish like this, using the washing line, yeah, that move definitely paid off.
Drying slings and drying mats can mean only one thing. Yes, after all that disturbance of playing that fish, the others had moved out, and I felt my chance for another bite had dwindled.
Right, so I think that is it for us now. We've had 24 hours here at Clavering Lakes. I've had a blast. I've had 6 carp in total, all down to the washing line. Now, I hope you got something from the video. It was about tackling day tickets to start with, and how you can, you know, tailor your approach to fishing venues that you've never fished before. And for me, I chose the washing line, and for good reason. It's definitely worked. When you've got venues like this where it's fishing from one bank and the other bank you can't fish from, it works an absolute treat, because you can place those rigs and baits so neatly on the opposite bank without disturbing the fish, keeping the lines out of the water. Let's face it, it's an absolute dynamite method for catching carp. So if you want to give washing line tricks a go for yourself, check the link out below. That takes to Angling Direct. It's got all the products I've used, and make sure you go out and give it a go. But for now, I'm going to go home. Hit like if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. You know what to do. We'll see you later.